Side. You want to make the screen bigger or
No,
no?
I'm good.
I'll call the meeting to order, Public Site Building Commission meeting to order at 7 o'clock. We have a quorum, so we can get started. Other people may be joining us, but we will get started anyways. Just a couple of things. Well, first, I'm calling us to order, so we'll do the pledge and then I'll go over a couple things. So please join me. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So there's no public here, so we're not doing public input and no additional correspondence, so we don't need to do that. And Kathy and I both found out at late o'clock this afternoon that the camera wasn't working, and so Kathy got another camera hooked up. Brad helped her with that, and so the cameras, we're seeing you, and because I think something was going on where people couldn't see, it was all audio. So if something happens with the camera, we'll just continue on with audio, because that's all we need to do is hear each other. Just a couple things quickly before I get into everything else. And of course, you're all here and most of you replied, but Kathy sends out the announcement. We really need to hear replies from members saying they're coming or not. Because it was helpful last time to know who wasn't coming and we just barely squeaked by with a quorum. So kind of need to know ahead of time, so if we need to arrange the meeting to have the meeting at a different time, I'll send an email out to everybody else who's not here. To let them know that we just really need to know. And I know things come up at last minute, so if you can either email or text at the last minute, if something comes up, you can't be here, that'll give us a good heads up. And our next meeting, I want to say this now so that we're going through the meeting, we can be thinking about this, and at the end of the meeting, we can figure out what we might need to do. Our next scheduled meeting is November 23rd, which is the day before Thanksgiving. I won't be here. I could probably zoom in from some other place, don't really want to, but if we don't have stuff, we won't have a meeting. But if we end up tonight with needing to do things or make decisions or whatever, we're gonna have to figure that out. We can do a special meeting at another time.
Make sure emails you're not coming though.
Nah, I will, or I just won't show up, whatever. So think about that as we're going through tonight and see if we need to, if there's stuff we need to take care of. So then we're gonna do the approval of meeting minutes from our last meeting. So I'll make a motion that we approve the regular meeting minutes from October 26, 2022. Need a second?
I'll second.
John Mendy seconds. Any discussion or any changes needed in the minutes? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Dino abstains. Thank you. So we'll jump right into our old business. So municipal center renovations. I've sent a couple emails out through the First Selectman's office. I've actually had them send them email out to everybody that works in the building, giving them the heads up. A couple of weeks ago, I had one sent out today. I think it got sent out today. Did you get everyone email today? Oh, I'll tell them to do it tomorrow. So that people know that that area's gonna be blocked off. There's gonna be noise because there's demolition going on. And we have on with us tonight Jay Metcalf from BMP and Mark from Colliers. There's a couple things that I wanted to have Jay touch on with us, because there are some things, as Jay's been going through everything, that he's finding certain things, because the plans were done lots of years ago, a few things discontinued or finding better options. So we just might have to, make some changes and what we get. It's not big, it might be a color, might be a toilet, etc. So Jay, I don't know if you want to unmute yourself and kind of let us know. Yeah, you're muted, so you got to unmute. There you go.
Can you hear me now? All right. Sorry,
That's
I'm
okay.
Zoom illiterate. So yeah, Jay Metcalf from BMP Construction. So just to give sort of a broad update, we're going to start work next week I'm actually gonna have the dumpster delivered tomorrow just because of the rain that's coming on Friday. And because we're bringing that dumpster across the lawn, I'd rather do it when it's nice and bone dry than when it's wet next Monday. So they're gonna deliver the dumpster tomorrow. That's gonna go as close as I can get to that entrance to the building without going to the sidewalk. And then we'll put construction fencing around the dumpster, enclosing that entrance, block off the handicap ramp that's there, etc. And then we'll begin work on Monday in earnest. I'll have my guys there that are going to set up the containment area. They'll set up the negative air machine, etc. And then they'll start demoing over the course of the week. And then the only other thing is, as Nancy mentioned, there's a couple of items because the plans are, I think, 10 years old or so that have been discontinued, etc. I actually found what seemed to be good substitutes for the floor and wall tile in the bathrooms. And I went through those with Eileen today. She actually has those samples in her office. Basically, it's the same charcoal color as what was on the floor, just a different manufacturer, the same matte white, large format tile for the walls. The one thing that we sort of weren't able to find was Peter had originally spec'd kind of a red maroon countertop, which pretty much can't find these days. I spent a couple weeks looking for a substitute and couldn't find one. So what I had spoken to Eileen and Nancy about is another way of tying in the Bethel maroon color, if you will, is we'll do a row of tile that is that maroon color that sort of will be part of the white. We were talking about doing the top course of tile in that, and I found a maroon color that matches pretty well with Bethel red or maroon, if you will. Eileen has those colors as well, and then her and I kind of picked out a countertop that she liked that would sort of go between the charcoal floor and the white walls. And she has that sample as well.
Okay, so there are gonna be other things, I think, that you were talking about other things like toilets and sinks that might not be exactly the same, not about colors, but, you know.
Yep. I mean, toilets and sinks have been fine. The only other thing that I had thrown out in my email to you is that Peter had originally spec'd a wired flushometer, and usually what we see these days is just simply the battery operated infrared ones, because the batteries last 6-7 years and they're very easy to change, and then you don't have the hassle of a transformer that would either have to be located behind the toilet or above the ceiling or something like that. So really my question was, you know, when we run into those things that we think is a better solution, substituting a battery operated infrared for the hardwired infrared, what protocol do you want to do for us to go through that? It could be as simple as an email and go from there, or you guys kind of tell me.
Has he talked to the building maintenance at all? Because they like to have just the basics, because otherwise they just break down.
I agree.
Because
That's what happens.
we don't want
Wow.
anything crazy.
If they clean and they get water inside there, we're eliminating them all.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I'm just saying it
You
might
get
be,
water in them,
So are you thinking that, so Kathy works in, she's our secretary, but she also works in Public Works. She kind of
Yep.
runs. So she was wondering if, and we, the commission, in going through all this, have not talked to building maintenance. And I know, as we were just saying, they kind of like to stay away from anything that requires that if it's gonna break down and not work for a little while and they gotta get in there and fix it. So you're saying maybe just a regular flush, just a plain old toilet?
What you say?
I could talk to the building maintenance guys tomorrow just to make sure, but like, we just usually just go standard sinks, faucets, like everything.
No
just
automatic anything?
Nothing automatic, because it's just.
Oh.
Because the schools have automatic stuff in them.
Yeah, most folks are going towards the automatic, especially became a real hotbed during COVID, just because you're not touching handles and all that sort of thing. I mean, and I'd be more than happy to talk to building maintenance too about.
I would like you to, if you could, just because I just know we've just run into so many problems.
I'll touch base with them and bring up the subject when I see them on Friday.
Right. You've already talked to Greg here a few times, right?
I believe so.
He's the one that helped you
I
get
might be
it.
missing the name.
Yeah, he's the one that kind of was helping you figure out where the plumbing shut-offs
Yep,
were.
older gentleman. I spoke to him today, actually, yeah.
Yeah, that's Greg.
He's the one you want to
I-
speak.
Yep, I actually have his phone number in my phone, so I can reach out to him on Friday. And actually, I'm glad you brought him up because the one thing I forgot to mention is I had asked him when I seen him today that what was important for beginning of the week next week is downstairs in those two storage rooms, getting everything cleaned out of the one under the men's room and then half of the room under the women's, just because one of the first things that we're gonna have to do is kind of demo that plaster ceiling that's up there. Because we don't have a good feel for what valves, if any, are there to isolate these bathrooms. And before my plumber can go too far, we kind of want to open that up as gently as we can, and then, cut in isolation valves so we can shut off the water to those areas, and then sort of have our run of the bathrooms, if you will. So he was going to check today to make sure that they were still good to have those rooms cleaned out end of the week. And then the other thing I mentioned to Eileen when I saw her today was it looked like that IT equipment was still in that one closet.
Yes.
And we're gonna need that relocated sooner than later.
Right. So the stuff was supposed to get moved out of those downstairs areas yesterday.
Okay, when I tried to go down today, the doors were locked. I didn't explore further, so.
Okay, I'll check on that because Eileen was supposed to have some of her staff help the senior center people. They were supposed to get rid of some stuff because they had some kind of big holiday sale thing and they were supposed to sell everything and then not put it back, which is what I told them, don't put it back.
Yep.
And then Eileen was supposed to have her guys, part of her staff help move stuff out yesterday, but I don't know if that happened. I'll check and find out.
Okay.
And then moving the security camera stuff is, Greg would like to know if, because it's gonna get moved, most likely moved to temporary place, just for starters, out of that lobby area.
Yeah.
And once the ceiling gets torn down, Greg was hoping that he can then be able to get in there and run the wires up above the ceiling so that it can go where it's gonna be permanently.
Yep. They can do that.
Yeah, so
What'll be important to move it on a temporary basis even is that I'm worried that we're gonna create a lot of dust.
Yes.
With the demo, and I don't want to affect the security camera. It looks like there's a switch in there. I don't want to bug up the switch with dust, so.
Right. So I don't know, Kathy and I talked today about a temporary location for it, which is a good location. But it can't stay there partly because they want it a little further into the building so that they can hook more cameras up at another time. So we'll have to check with Greg tomorrow on that to try to get that out of there as soon as possible. So just to clarify, you're putting the dumpster in tomorrow and you're gonna actually put the fencings around the dumpster in the area tomorrow also?
Maybe. If not, that'll happen on Monday.
Okay, I just wanna know, because if it's gonna happen, we wanna give people in the building the heads up, like you can't use that entrance, it's gonna all be
Yep.
fenced off. But if you're gonna do it, you think more might, like Monday, we'll still let them know it's gonna happen. But,
It'll more likely they'll put the construction fence up Monday. I was until 4 o'clock this afternoon, I was gonna have the dumpster delivered on Monday, and then I realized that with the rain, I'd be better off if it just got delivered tomorrow, so.
yeah,
Probably the only thing that happens tomorrow will be the delivery of the dumpster.
okay. Yeah, we like to keep our lawn looking nice. It gets ripped up occasionally now and then, but
Yep, we'll just try to minimize it.
was there anything did you tell me anything else? Yeah.
No, that was.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna look into the, making sure the rooms got cleaned out. They might be locked just because they got them cleaned out, but I don't know why they would lock them if they're cleaned out.
They're always clean. I mean, they're always locked.
And then we're gonna check in with Greg about moving the camera stuff.
Jay did ask the question if he wants to make changes.
Yeah, how are we gonna do that?
You know, and
Any
I think
ideas?
this is an example of why we need to do it, because
Yeah,
I would say that, you know, if it's not you, perhaps it should be just run right through the DPW,
yeah,
let them help.
and some input, because since Eileen's and her staff kind of run that end of the building a little bit, some input from her too.
Right, because
Yeah.
basically, Jay, you said it was gonna be the same kind of money, right? We're not looking at changes to expenses, are we?
Not so far, and hopefully not ever. So far, it's just simple substitutions. You know, you always run the risk of finding things that you didn't quite anticipate, but so far we haven't done there.
Right, but the substitutions will be monetarily equivalent.
Yeah,
Yes, they used to be monetarily equivalent items, actually. And absolutely, if we stumble across something that we thought, you know, needed a further conversation because it would induce a change order or something like that, we'd certainly, you know, come before you guys and lay out what it would be, et cetera. And the way the Easy IQC is programmed, which is this being done under, is written is that, you know, before I did anything that would create an additional change, I'd create a supplemental proposal and send you guys, and it would sort of lay out what the cost would be. And again, we do everything we can to not run into those. And for the most part, our track record is pretty good on not running into those. So.
okay. So I
Alright.
think, you know, we could check in with, you know, if you email me, Eileen, and maybe even include Kathy, because it might need to be checked by building maintenance. If it's, you know, some light fixtures or whatever, but they're gonna be something outrageous, or, you know, we might wanna check in on that first.
Yep, absolutely.
I just thought of a question, having gone in and out of the lobby a bunch of times yesterday. The new storefront door that's gonna go to the exterior, did we plan to have that wired to have a automatic open?
Yes.
Okay,
You
so
have, so our proposal includes putting an ADA automatic opener on that. It does not have a key fob access incorporated into it. I don't think that's something that's there now.
we don't need to, because that, we don't have that
Yep, okay.
set up in the building yet. Just one of the other, one entrance, two entrances, one entrance. One entrance has a push button.
Yep, so we'll have a paddle inside and a paddle outside.
Okay,
That'll have an automatic door opener.
good.
Okay,
What about that, as people were coming in and out yesterday to vote?
yeah, that was something that was important, Eileen, as we
Yeah.
went along, we added it.
Right, okay. Does anybody have anything else? Do you have anything else for us, Jay?
Nope, not at the moment. Just, you know, excited to start the project finally, and looking forward to working with all you guys. So, and again, you know, anything comes up, you need to get in touch with me. You know, Eileen, Nancy have my cell phone. I can be reached 24/7. So.
And so I don't know, Mark from Colliers is on too. Mark, I don't know if you have anything for us on this project.
Not at this time, Nancy. The things I was going to cover, Jay covered also, as far as when he was going to start up. I would ask Jay, when he does start to take that area over, he can, before he has his temporary partitions up, if he can caution tape it, just a visual barrier so people don't cross over. And that way they know they're crossing into a construction zone before he has his temp partitions up.
Yep, we can do that.
So Mark, are you saying putting caution tape up on the other side, so that, and the side that's being still used by staff and the public?
Yeah, on both sides, yes.
Because they're not gonna,
Until
go ahead.
until he has his hard barriers up. That way it'll keep people out, or at least should keep people out.
Yeah, because.
So just to be clear, we're not putting up hard barriers with a door. We're putting up heavy plastic with a door.
Yeah, the doors are gonna be closed and locked. So you're not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then we're gonna put plastic across them, so when we create the negative air, it, you know, has something to create negative air against.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But we might still wanna put
Yep.
some signage or something on the other side of the door so that
Yep.
somebody doesn't think they can take their master key and go on through.
Yep, we can put up construction do not enter signs.
Okay. Anything else, Mark?
Nope, that is it.
Right. So Jay will, doesn't need to come in every meeting. My hope is that when you're presenting any kind of invoices, that you're here so you can answer questions that anybody might have.
Sure.
All right,
All right.
we don't have any invoices, we don't have anything we need to approve, so I think we're good with Jay and Mark. Thanks for being here. And we look forward to getting the work started, although I think some people are gonna be surprised at how noisy it's gonna be for a couple. Like I said, I had put together an email to be sent out today, but it didn't go out, so we'll try it for tomorrow, but I wanna get it out before the end of the week.
Sounds good.
All right, thanks.
All right, thank you guys.
Good night.
Have a good night.
Thanks. All right, firing range. Oh, Vin just came in. What a perfect timing, and Mark's on too. So, do you have any kind of update on the training range?
Good evening, everybody. Yeah, today we had a meeting with the architect and Action Target and Downs Construction. And we kind of set some preliminary dates for when some of the major activities are gonna be completed. Action Target has about 2 more weeks to complete their mechanical side of the project. That'd be the makeup air unit. And once they get that completed, they will send that over to the architect. He has about a week's worth of work to update his drawings. We'll then get everything over to Downs Construction, hopefully before Christmas, and get everything ready to go out to bid. Once Action Target completes once we complete the review of the submittals for the makeup air unit and we get them back to Action Target and we approve them, they're then going to go out for pricing. They got about 3 vendors that they're going to go out to, and they're going to be selecting based on price and lead time. Right now, I'm hearing the makeup air unit could be up to 6 months out. We're going to see if we can better that time. We're going to coordinate the makeup air unit delivery date with going out to bid. Downs doesn't want to get the project out to bid too early because if the makeup air unit is up 6 months out, he doesn't want to have contractors try to hold their price for 6 months. That'd be pretty difficult for them to do. So we're going to time that just right so we can get out to bid with the general construction, have that coordinated with getting the work completed, and then Action Target coming in and executing their work. But right now it looks like we're probably about a summer start the way everything is lining up. That's providing we can get this makeup air unit in the 6-month time frame that Action Target is noting. Some things we can do to better that is a quick turnaround on the submittals once we get them over to the town. The quicker we can get those submittals reviewed and get them approved by the town, we can get them back to Action Target. Then they can start procuring bids for their end.
So who does the review of the submittals?
We're going to be giving those to John Perner and his team.
Okay, you gotta turn them around quickly, Brenna.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah, so we'll get the drawings, we'll turn those over, and if the drawings will suffice, then we can get those signed off on. If John doesn't want any more information, any submittals, then hopefully we can authorize the ordering of the equipment. John, I've already spoken to David, the project manager at Action Target, gave him your list of items. and he's going to incorporate those items into the package that they're gonna submit. So you should have a decent package to review.
So what I sent, I guess I have a couple questions. What
Yes.
manufacturers are you sending it out to? So
I
Daikin
mentioned-
first choice, when I met with them last time, Action Target. Well,
Daikin is one. Daikin is one that he mentioned today. He said he had a few other ones that he was going to be reaching out to. I can get that information for you.
Yeah, I'd like to see JCI, which is /York. And I've been having some really good success right now with Train.
Okay. Oh, don't recall him mentioning Train, but I will. But he did mention Daikin, and he said he had two more that he's going to reach out to. So Daikin, Train, and who was the third one?
JCI, which is York. They've got York.
Okay. All right. So once he gets the manufacturer on board, they're gonna probably want to reduce submittals, and you're gonna want to see those submittals too, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so we'll get you the drawings over as soon as those are completed, and then once we get a manufacturer on board and they produce the submittals, I'll get those over to you.
So look, the next question I have is, I had put together a list of options.
Correct.
That's gonna be important as us as a team here, that we make a decision on what's not included in the original project.
Right.
And we want to entertain some of the things that I put in there. That would be, we'd have to meet with the entire, I know that we're under, a cost parameter that we only have so much money, but we gotta be thinking long-term in some of the past history that we had with the shell of the range. So
Okay.
I think
Yeah.
having those numbers from each manufacturer listed separately, it'll make it easy for us as a committee to make a decision.
Okay. I'll make sure that we get that. And I did share that list with David, and he's actually talking to his designer about those items, and he'll be getting back to me to see if any of those items are additional cost. Yeah, I shared that list with him a while back. And I spoke to him again today about it during our meeting, and he did not mention that your list or the items that you had on there for the options would be additional cost, but I'll track that and
Thank you.
see what that lands. You're welcome.
Oh, Libertini's in the waiting room.
Excuse me?
I was just, noticed somebody was in the waiting room. That's Lieutenant Libertini. So are you finding, Vin, that you're having better, contact with Action Target? They're being more responsive?
Yes, they are, because we put this meeting together today. They responded. It was a 4 o'clock meeting today. We have to have them later on in the day because of they're on West Coast time.
Yep.
So lessons learned on our end. We booked one early, and he said he was going to make it, but he didn't. So we're running them a little bit later in the day. But no, Action Target. I'm going to be putting together a master schedule based on what we spoke about today, sharing it with the group, and getting their input. So I'll be putting that together. I'm waiting on some information from Action Target, and then I'll put that together early next week. Just kind of a general timeline of what we just discussed. Action Target's going to have their drawings ready. Architect will have their drawings here. Downs will be in the construction. 4 to 6 months. I'm guessing 4 to 6 months for the makeup area. So I'm being optimistic, saying hopefully 4 months. Then we'll backtrack Downs for bidding and so forth.
But that would still put us into later spring, early summer to get actually started on the construction.
Yeah, to my timeline, if it's 4 months, we could be looking at mid-May. If it's 6 months, we could be looking at mid-July. We did push Action Target off, from coming in, opening up the building now, with their equipment, because they would have only delivered so much equipment and they would have to deliver more later. They've since changed, that recommendation and said, we're just gonna come in and do it all at once, which is better for everybody.
Well, it is, because if they had to bring it in through the big opening in the wall, we would have to take that wall out and then what? I don't know, screw some plywood to it? We don't want to do that.
Correctly, and and then we would have had equipment in the training facility while Downs is trying to do all of their roughing. Typically, Action Target does not come in until the roughing is complete, and
Right.
that's what we're gonna target, and that's what we're gonna do.
Plus, the equipment would be in there in an area that's not air
Not
controlled.
climate correct, yes, and I did bring that up to Action Target, although they said, oh no, our equipment will be fine. I said, can you guarantee that? And it was, well, it should be fine.
Well, it should be fine. It should be.
Right, exactly, right, yeah.
So, what, do we have a permit for this?
A permit for, construction?
Yeah,
I do not believe so, because we don't, Downs doesn't have the drawings yet.
so, but we're planning to get one.
Yes, we're gonna have to get a permit.
Yes, okay, because it's not, what I'm remembering was the permit for the other part of the building is closed out, so this one will need a permit.
Yeah, this would be a new job.
Yeah, okay, just want to make sure that's on your radar.
It is, and I'll have that in my map. As soon as we can get the drawings to, the Downs, they can at least apply for permit ahead of time. So if we get the drawings to them by Christmas, they can apply for permit right then, get them into the town, into the city for permitting. And
Okay.
then we'll line up for bid once we get some more information on the makeup area unit.
All right. All right, so we have both Lieutenant Durkin and Lieutenant Libertini on. I don't know if you guys have any input or questions since you're here.
No, I do not.
Okay, thanks. Mike? Mike?
He's still muted.
Yeah, I know he's muted. Mike, you're, Lieutenant Libertini, you're muted. If you wanted to give some input and unmute yourself, come back from wherever you went. Don't have a mic, okay. But he's all set. Thank you. All right, he's texting us. Or he's chatting with us. And Benny, Lieutenant Libertini would be a great person if you do ever run into the situation with Action Target where you weren't getting the responses you were expecting quickly enough. Because he's
Okay.
the one that kind of got us started with Action Target. He has a great kind of reputation with them, so that you know, if we need to get him on them to get them to be more responsive, we can do that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We'll keep him in mind. We'll be coordinating with him going down the road, because I understand that the firing range has kind of storage items in it, so we'll make sure that we coordinate all that ahead of time
Okay.
to give him time to find the locations for those items. The other thing I've asked the architect to do is the only lead time item on the architect side is lighting. I asked him to make sure that he puts in an or equal for the lighting, so that way we're not restricted to one manufacturer. And he said he'll make sure that the electrical designer does that.
Good.
'Cause we don't want no holdups on anything like that.
Okay. All right. Anybody have anything else they want to either ask Vin or find out about? I think Durkin and Libertini are okay. Anything else for us, Vin? That's a good update. I'm glad you had that meeting today.
Yeah, so am I. I was targeting that meeting to have it ahead of this one.
Yeah, good, thanks.
You're welcome.
And I know I don't have any invoices, so I think we're set with this part. We can move along to the next project. Thanks, Bob. Thanks, Mike. Everybody else has got to stick around. So, schools closeout update. Nothing new, right? Yes and no.
He's smiling, that's a good thing, you're smiling. Well, you're laughing at us, one or the other.
This is more like it.
Yeah, based on the email that I sent, just no changes.
Okay, we might talk about that later. Okay. So are you, although now where you are you in a position where you can send a final application for payment or?
Yeah, both parts of that come together, and we can close this out pretty quickly.
Okay. But that depends on
Yes.
all that, which we'll talk about later. Okay. Budget isn't much changed, I think Vin said, from last time, because we haven't had any invoices and we haven't had any applications for payment since last meeting.
Correct. There's no change, but the one item that I may have to add is the additional cost for the level spreader. Are we gonna add that into the school budget, or how are we gonna handle that for that cost? 'Cause I know there was talk about breaking it out separately.
So it'll come out of the, at least the plan is now, that it will come out of the project budget, but it's not going to be something that's going to be a change order through Rizzo and result in a change to the GMP so that the closeout can happen. So we're not dragging this on and on. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yes, it does, because this is only the architectural fee that we're talking about, so it doesn't affect Rizzo at all. So I'll get that updated, and I'll add that in for the next meeting,
Okay,
okay?
so, Dr. Carver, did you have questions about the financial closeout part or?
No, I think just obviously we want to do it. And I just wanted to talk, as I texted you in executive session, a little bit about what it'll take to close out.
Okay. So what we'll talk about maybe first is James DeMayo is on, he's our town engineer. And we'll do a little bit of talking about, not a little bit, but whatever we need to do to talk about the level spreader. And when we met, whenever it was it last week or the week before? Because as I said at our last meeting, we do have, in order to do any work back there, whether it's repairs or something completely new or whatever, we do have to go through, planning and zoning or land use, so to speak, for whether it's permission or that they know we're doing it. We just can't go down there and start digging holes and do stuff. So James and I met with Mark Dupre from STV, and Beth was there, and David, so all from planning and zoning land use. Because James had some concerns about the proposed fix that SLR put out, which I sent to everybody. And the concerns were basically, are we gonna do all this work and it's not gonna really work as planned? So we had some discussion about, what other options might be. James, I know you asked him to unmute. James, yeah, there. James, can you fill us in?
Yeah. So, Kathy, am I able to share my screen yet? Yeah, there we go. Perfect. Okay. So as I'll just kind of go over a brief summary, just a little bit for my own edification at this point. So we know that there's kind of an issue with the level spreader. So this is the detention basin. There's the level spreader. There's the swamp, or East Swamp Brook. What is currently being proposed is we're going, and this is where the erosion is taking place along this red line right now. Along the blue line is an existing trail, which opens up to the little playground and swing sets that are over here. But the trail also comes down and follows this red line. And then at another point right around here, it actually crosses over this again. So the current proposal is to essentially create a stone lined swale. It's basically going to excavate out where the current erosion already is and fill it in with some stone, and then this way, hopefully, it will prevent further erosion down the road. Then at crossing, proposing putting a 30-inch corrugated pipe, and the trail will actually go over the top of it. So the swale will come down where it meets or intersects with the trail. The trail will actually go over the top of it right here. That's what this little hatch is, with a little bit of soil. And then come out to a small plunge pool and then continue down. So essentially there'll need to be 2 of these. So that's the current proposal in a nutshell, like real quick summary.
James, I don't want to interrupt. You're doing a great job with the synopsis. The proposal would be only for one of those, and that shifting the trail to the north side of the eroded portion that would become the swale. So it would
the
only
entirety
yeah. So the trail would get shifted so that it would be to the north side of it. I believe
Okay,
that's
so-
what the proposal was. I could confirm that
Okay.
with SLR.
Yeah.
It would
so
only
either-
cross once.
Yeah, so either way, there'll still be one crossing, and whether we flip-flop the swale and the trail is almost irrelevant. I know with the current proposal, one of my concerns is actually these crossings. There's very little material on them, and and it's a pretty steep slope. Well, actually up top, it's not too bad yet. But if enough water gets behind this, there's not going to be really much holding this pipe. So we're going to have to figure out a way to fasten that down so it doesn't want to move on us. In terms of maintenance with this solution, it's not too bad. It's keeping it clear of debris, trees, things of that nature, branches, limbs, leaves, all that is stuff that, as a municipality, we're going to need to handle, because if the maintenance falls behind on it, then what will end up happening is we may end up in a very similar situation now, where the trail is essentially eroding away because the swale is not going to function as intended. I know one of the other conversations that were had was to, try to fix this level spreader and try to make it act as it was designed. I have some concerns with that as well. There are some ways to remedy it in a way that I think we can get it to operate the way it was intended. The concern is just the fact that there's this trail here. So even if we got it to act and behave the way, right on the other side of this trail, you can even tell by these contours as they get very, very close, it gets very steep. It's basically a drop off. So my concern is if it's functioning the way it's supposed to, what will end up happening is we're going to end up taking that water and pushing it across that trail, and then it's going to just continually erode that steep slope. And now we're talking, it may be years before we see too much of a difference, but it is something that is going to happen, and it will progressively get worse, especially as we get hit with some bigger storms or, you know, things like that, or multiple big storms, it'll start to go. And the only other third option that I looked at really quickly, just so the commission knows, is I was wrestling with the idea of potentially piping this instead of doing the stone line swale. So, you know, just for, I've only given it a quick thought. I have not run any calculations or anything like that, or even cost analysis of what it's going to be yet, but potentially putting in a structure here that the 30-inch pipe comes into, and then allow maybe something like 2 18-inch pipes coming out, which is the depth of the swale, because it's 1.5 feet deep anyway. So we're not excavating anymore. And then literally putting pipes, 2 18-inch pipes, maybe, if it can hydraulically handle it, in the same location, and pipe it all the way down. Benefit to that is that there's very little maintenance, if anything, and but the cost is more. So, you know, unfortunately right now I'm only, you know, I'm still trying to chase down some additional information regarding the drainage report for the design flows coming out of the basin. I haven't been able to get my hands on that just yet. But that, you know, those were just kind of my thoughts in terms of, you know, pluses and minuses to a couple different options that I think that we might have in, you know, in this area without looking at the entire project as a whole. I also know, you know, I'm trying to be mindful of the fact that, you know, we just don't have, you know, piles of money where we can just start throwing money at this as well. So, you know, our options are kind of limited. We're going to try to make the best of not a nice situation, but those were just some of the things that I saw looking at it. And as Nancy said, because of the fact we're going to, you know, regardless of almost what we do, the wetland review line is actually this dashed line here, which comes just underneath this. So any work that happens is going to need to get approved through inland wetlands. So.
Would that be administrative by staff, or is that going to require meetings?
Depending on how we do it. If we were to pipe it or swale it down, it's probably going to have to go in front of the commission. If we were to do some form of a retrofit to the level spreader, that may be able to be administrative, but at this point, I'd probably recommend that the commission would review this as well, because it has potential to significantly impact things just upgrading it.
Thanks.
So those are my preliminary thoughts. I'm happy to go into more detail on some of them or continue discussing some of them. But that's pretty much where I'm at the moment.
Okay, thanks. So
Yeah.
to go on, Joe, did you have something?
I was going to say, SLR was actually working on details to address the comments from your email last week.
Yep.
But in lieu of some of these more updated comments about the wetlands review, maybe it'd be best if we had a meeting with them and to review all the options.
Yeah, I know. I reached out to 2 of the individuals from SLR, and I have not heard back from them.
Okay.
Because I was requesting some additional information, you know, mainly being actually that drainage report, so I can kind of figure out what the designs were. But yeah, I haven't heard back from them.
Okay.
So Joe, were you talking about meeting with the Inland Wetlands Commission or with James and?
With James and I guess you or whoever
David.
from the committee and probably STV as well.
Yeah, it'd also be beneficial to bring David in, the inland wetlands agent,
Yeah,
into
okay.
that as well.
So one of the suggestions that was made, actually initially, and then when we met with the land use folks, came from Mark Dupre of STV, about they have some on-staff engineers that could do a review to see if what's being proposed by SLR is going to be, it's a whole water engineer kind of thing. But I don't know, Mark, if you wanna kind of give us a.
Sure. During the discussion with the different options and the ideas that James DeMayo had, and just looking at the history and honestly the videos that Nancy has, and I don't know if anybody's seen those of how the level spreader is working. We kind of talked about the options and the plan, and the fact that, you know, I didn't personally have confidence that even if we have the level spreader area reconfigured as SLR is promoting, 2 or 3 years from now, we're not dealing with a similar situation. And I suggested that we have hydraulics engineers in our office that specialize in these type of projects, these type of things. And I suggested, as I had done about a month ago, I think, having them do kind of a peer review on the original design, on the execution of the design, and then make a recommendation. And I prepared a proposal for that as was requested, but it's up to you folks if you're interested in doing that. My recommendation again is I would like to see us fix it and not have worries 2 or 3 years from now. The site is very steep, as Mr. DeMayo pointed out, and I'm not necessarily sure that the level spreader is functioning as ever designed, and certainly not sure that the current plans from SLR aren't kind of a Band-Aid. And I'm no disrespect to them, but it's certainly not a plan that is addressing the problem. It's addressing the runoff and the erosion. So we put together a proposal for that. I forward that on to Nancy, and I'm happy to answer questions about it.
So I sent it around, I think, to everybody yesterday, but I was very busy yesterday with other things that happen on the first Tuesday after the first Monday of every November. I worked all day from about 5 in the morning till about 1 o'clock today. So I wasn't having a lot of time to review all that stuff. I don't know if anybody else had a chance to look at it, but.
How much was it for?
22.5.
22.5. Yeah,
My impression was it was a lot of money. Just
it does sound like a lot of money.
to do a
Yes.
peer review
Yeah,
when it's not really giving us a
Not a design.
no, it's not a design, right?
so
there's
I
that.
mean, it just seems that I like the idea, but
Yeah.
we can't go back, or I think we've made a decision that we're not gonna go back and reanalyze what's done. I thought the decision here was we're just gonna move forward and solve this.
Right, but
So,
something that James brought up was looking at, and I think he's trying to get this information, because I think it exists, is, what the existing level spreader, what are all the elevations there? Is the water basically runs out of that flared end spreader, down the level spreader and out the end. It never gets to the point of going over. So are we looking at design? Are we looking at installation? Are we looking at just a whole bunch of bad conditions to begin with when it started, or all of the above? So it's like we're trying to figure out the best, most cost-effective and long-lasting way to deal with the situation. And getting input from experts is going to help us, yet it is a big chunk of money that could go towards working on the fix.
So have we done a cost estimate on the fix?
but I mean, just listening tonight, I like James's idea that maybe we should look at piping. So, and that might be more cost effective, but
In the long run.
it's just in the long run.
Right.
But I'm just concerned that we go back and, I thought that the comments back from Joe was that essentially it was built to plans. The grades that were out there might have been, not carried farther enough down slope so that we would have known that there was a rise in elevation, so
Right.
where it would hit the trail, the water's gonna run there anyways,
Right.
so I think there was a lot of factors that we kind of decided that, we gotta move forward, we're probably not gonna go back here. So that's my only concern, is I hate to spend a lot of money analyzing where we are. I like to spend our money moving forward, looking at these different ideas that we have now.
Well, part of my proposal, if I might interject myself, is that we really feel it's very important for us to understand with the retainage pond there and the flow coming out of that and the amount or volume that pond can handle right now, how it impacts the existing level spreader and its capacity itself. Not to mention the fact that it doesn't appear to be level, and it is assembled with a series of curbs that sit on top of one another. And it's clearly not meeting its design intent. So without doing a little bit of research and history on not only the level spreader, but the retaining pond, anything going forward could be potentially flawed. That's the reason we suggested a peer review to really look at it from that standpoint. And again, it's not me doing the work, it's hydraulics engineers from my company. So
Mark, with all due respect, the conversations like that, I would like to have SLR present to address your concerns and frankly accusations.
I'm not accusing anybody of anything, Joe.
Well, I hear a lot about design issues and design flaws. SLR has clearly pointed out that the field conditions did not match the existing conditions. And information like that should have been passed on to the design team whenever there's a discrepancy between field conditions and existing conditions. We were never given the opportunity to review these things and make adjustments to the design to address a concern such as this. So
Hey,
that's
Joe.
partly why we are where we are.
Hey, Joe.
Yes.
Just trying to keep a positive note here. The items that Mark was just talking about as far as the retention pond itself, with an analysis of that, can we ask STL,
SLR.
to take a look at the original design? Can
Yep.
we put more water and meter it out correctly or slower to solve this problem? Does it have capacity within the original design to handle that? Maybe there's some small changes that we could make with the weir or whatever it might be, the control structure going out, that maybe we can take care of some of the problems right now. And I don't know if that's been analyzed.
So I'm going to jump in on this one. So I do know I have reports from Wright Pierce, who was the town of Bethel's consulting firm who reviewed site plans, drainage, things like that for the town, pretty much
Okay.
up until I got here. So I do know that they reviewed it. So I do know that information exists. I just have not been able to get my hands on it. I can't find it in our departments, probably because that drainage report just got sent directly to the consultant.
Okay.
I know that's one of the things that I'm attempting to review and look at. So the commission knows that, like, that's what I want to look at. I want to look at the basin. I want to look at the design. I want to see the flows. I want to understand. I'm going to kind of try to look at it from a fresh perspective.
Okay.
This was all done where I was part of the town. And then try to remedy a solution, at least, because again, I don't want the town to be burdened with a very expensive fix, nor something that is going to continually cause problems. But that drainage report right now has all that information that we're currently discussing, and that's what I'm looking for.
Right.
Good.
Okay, I will push SLR to get that immediately.
Yeah, if you can help push that along and get that to me, that would be a big help.
Yes, yep.
So
I
Joe,
think
What's that? Sorry.
Joe, you can
I think
get, you have access to that, because I think it might be in the shared drive too, but I'm not sure.
It's not.
It's not, okay. It may never have been uploaded there, because
The only people that look at that would have been Wright Pierce. You know, it's just basically something that an engineer is going to look at. It's gonna be like a 200-page document that nobody else is really gonna want to even comb through except for me and somebody else.
so that might not have been something that we all needed to deal with and look at, so it probably didn't go up on the shared drive, but.
Correct.
Joe, you have
Right,
that.
and they Wright would have done his review back when we went for the initial wetlands permit, right?
2018. So I
Yes.
believe if memory right, I was looking at the comment letter, and the drainage report was dated May 5th, 2018.
Okay.
If memory, I think it was called engineering report is how they titled it.
Engineering report. All right. May 5th, 20.
That's productive.
I think that can be a
Yeah,
very helpful.
I think that's very productive. I appreciate that, James, to take a look at that.
So James, when you do take a look at it, I think if necessary, perhaps there could be a meeting with you, maybe SLR, and whatever other interested, necessary parties need to be a part of it before we take the next step, because it might be able to shed some light on. I think we don't take Mark's proposal and throw it away. We kind of keep that and say, all right, if we need it, we can take a look at things. But I think what James is suggesting that, he do is kind of like the next step. Next couple.
That would be my recommendation for the town.
Yeah.
Is just to get me that information. I'll sit down with, once I have time to review it, I'll sit down with try to sit down with SLR and talk about a couple of different options. Then hopefully they can provide me some additional information. And then we kind of go from there.
Okay.
Roy, were you talking about instead of the swale that was in the drawing?
Correct.
Pipe it.
That's one of the things James
I
just
like
said.
James's idea of piping it, but I
Yeah.
also would like to
And-
look at the original reports.
And piping cuts down on the maintenance.
Right.
Because now you don't have everything that's falling.
Maybe there's
in there.
100% extra capacity within that basin, and maybe we should retain it for a little bit longer and meter it out at a lower rate.
Right,
I'm
right,
just throwing out
Yep.
just whatever we can look at.
Yeah. But piping it would mean burying pipe.
Well, that modified, a foot and a half, a modified for
Yeah.
165 feet is not gonna be cheap either.
Right.
I will say I do not believe that there's much additional storage with inside this basin.
Okay,
Due to the fact that we have a 30-inch pipe coming out. I've dealt with SLR a lot. I don't think that they would ever put in a 30-inch pipe if they could have gotten away with an 8. Is kind of my point. So I don't think that we have a lot of storage. I believe that there's rock in the base of this detention basin. There's no infiltration. Another reason, and that's just me guessing off of the plans that I have in front of me, because I see an under drain, which typically means that there's no infiltration. So, even if we try to increase the volume, it's going to be expensive due to rock. And that's not an avenue that I think is best for us either. Our other alternatives are to potentially rip up all of this nice new improvements that we've already just done. I really don't want to do that either. So I just need to kind of dive into that report and see what we're actually, the design constraints, and move on from there.
Okay,
Sounds good.
So to set up a meeting with SLR, who should I set it up through?
Them and me.
Okay,
Yeah, you have my email, so you can just
Yep.
set it up directly.
okay,
yep, and
Yeah.
let me know, just so I know that you're doing it.
okay,
I need to be there, and maybe Mark too, because they're gonna be helping us with getting this all remedied and taken care of.
okay.
And then if anybody else thinks they want to be a part of it, I can let you know. Yeah, okay. Sounds like a plan. Thank you. All right, so we don't have any invoices. But we do have something else we have to talk about. And it involves some of the landscaping contract stuff. So I'm gonna make a motion that we go into executive session.
Nancy,
Yeah,
well, can we have STV also in there or no?
I'm gonna invite people in. I have to make a motion and then somebody has to second it and then I have to invite people in.
I'll second it.
So John seconded it and I'm gonna invite in Jim Delaney and Ken Hunt from Rizzo, all of us, Kathy, Dr. Carver, Joe Colada, Vinny and Mark from STV. And I don't know, James, if you want to stick around, you can, but you don't need to because it's something a little different than the level spreader thing.
Whatever you need, you tell me.
Okay, I don't think we need you. I think you're good with what you got proposed and we're just gonna move on to this next thing. Okay, so then we have to vote on going into executive session. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Done. So stop the recording. I have to make a. Okay, so no decisions or motions needed to come out of our discussion in executive session. As I said, no invoices right now. And so can we make a decision kind of, we don't need to meet on the 23rd, so we're not gonna have a meeting. And one other thing I'm gonna bring up, Kathy had sent me, but I didn't send it around to everyone, we'll discuss it next time. Because she's always looking ahead and keeping track of things, that's why we keep her on. Like we could get rid of you, right? It's time to start thinking about our calendar for next year, because we'll have to put that together, agree on it, and post it with the town clerk. With our school project wrapping up and.
Nancy, could I just interject one thing, which is probably gonna get, I don't know if you're all aware, but we're in the process of writing an HVAC grant for Bethel High School.
Right.
And part of the requirements is that a building committee is oversees the project. So the I don't even know if we're going to get this grant. I don't know if the taxpayers are willing to fund, because it works just like the school projects. It's a 50-50, well, it's a 46-54 match on it. But we are applying for it. The Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance both want us to do it. It's for Bethel High School, just the HVAC systems. And I just want to make you aware, because I wasn't sure if the whole commission was aware.
That we were gonna be in charge of it? No.
And when you said calendar, listen, it's a long way away, because like I said, we may not get the grant. We would have to secure funding from the taxpayers to pay for the balance of it. So there's a lot of processes that have to happen. I just wanted to put it on your radar.
This could be 6-8 months down the road.
Yes, 100%.
But in order for us to be involved in it, it has to get assigned to us by the Board of Selectmen.
I know, and I'm anticipating that's going to happen on the 29th of November.
How far into the design are you?
Pretty far in the sense that well, no, I'm sorry, not for the grant. We're doing it in 2 phases. So the first part is, the first phase is, the design has been done. It went out to bid last Friday. Kohler Ronan is the firm that won the bid for the design of the initial phase. And right now we're working with STV to do cost estimates. We're writing the grant application internally, and then, but they haven't started the design, right, Mark? For the grant phase,
No,
correct, only for the first phase.
right.
So we'll be presenting to the Board of Ed on the 17th. Then it has to go to a joint meeting of the Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance to authorize us to apply for the grant. And then from there, it would have to, just because of the cost, it would have to go to referendum to secure local funding for it. So we're well, and then it's the state it's only allocated, but $150 million. So I don't even know that, given the priorities across the state, how much Bethel will receive in that process. So we're doing the first phase internally, but the second phase, the grant phase, does require a building committee.
Okay, well, okay.
What's the first phase consist of?
So we are replacing one of the units over the science. It's unit 2. I mean, Mark probably knows the number better. And we're also looking at putting some air conditioning with DOAS units in the 2nd and 3rd floor, because there's 35 spaces at the high school that don't have any air conditioning. In the feasibility study, I can send the committee the feasibility study. It's a public document that Kohler Ronan conducted actually last spring that gave an overview of all of the issues with HVAC at the high school. And Mark, am I missing anything? Air conditioning on the 2nd and 3rd floor.
There's modifications to one of the rooftop units as well.
Okay.
I think it's rooftop unit number 4.
Okay.
And that's a new thing that Kohler Ronan started to add. So, but it's a significant amount of ductwork, rework, and obviously some ceiling work in much of the areas that will be affected, and it's certainly going to be a challenging project from a logistical standpoint. So. And that adds to the difficulty of it.
Okay, so just where I was going with the calendar was.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. I mean, it's good for us to know, but it's something for us to keep on our radar to think about as we're thinking about the calendar that we're gonna have to decide on next month.
We could always set
So-
a calendar, but if we had to adjust it,
We can,
we can.
but we used to meet once a month. We started meeting twice a month. As we moved into the police station project and school projects, we kept it at twice a month, because there were a lot of decisions we had to make pretty quickly, rapidly, et cetera. But as we were looking at finishing up school projects and the training range probably not needing our attention twice a month, and the GP room lobby is gonna be done in 3 months, hopefully 4 at the most. I know Eileen's been pushing to get the locker rooms done too. We can only do a couple things at a time because we don't have the time to do all that. Do we want, like John said, one of the things we said about keeping the meetings set up for twice a month is we can always cancel. It's easier than trying to have special meetings all the time. So just think about it. And it doesn't affect most of you except Dave Olson up there, because you guys have to come when we have them and not come. Most of you will be done pretty soon, hopefully. All right, so anything else that we need to look at? You guys have anything, Joe or Mark or Vinny, for tonight? I think we kind of covered everything, and I think we got some direction, so to speak, for a couple of issues that we have to work on. Good. Good.
Make a motion, we adjourn?
Second.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Jim.
We'll, I'm not sure if, we'll have to have Marty get in touch maybe with you, Jim.
Huh?